Okay, first, we take a moment of silence. If I could ask everyone to stand up, pledge allegiance to the flag. Ready? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Okay. Okay.
Approve the agenda.
Okay. We make a motion to approve the agenda for tonight.
Aye.
Favor, say aye. Okay. Minutes, consider approving the minutes from July 26.
Okay. Sorry about that. I'm having trouble. Oh, yeah, okay. Just comment that my assistant Paris was here also at the meeting. And go to the next page. The question about the amount of money that was appropriated for the bridge reconstruction, I think, should be tightened up a little. For example, it doesn't say where the money went. And I think that should be noted. It went into the TD Bank account that we have already been set up. There is also a mention of the state grant, the $250,000, $125,000 came from Willistown, thank you, and $125,000 came from Newtown, thank you. This is for rehab as per the engineering study that was done a few years ago. So we're lucky that we have some very good people in the township to see to the preservation of this bridge, which is really a treasure. The funds from the state, I'm not sure the way this was written as to whether the money, 100,000 grant from the state has come in. I guess, George, you're gonna, it did.
So Ed, do you want me to comment on the funds at this point?
That's fine.
Sure. So the $100,000 grant that was received from the state, the Keystone Preservation Grant, is a reimbursable. And that's money that comes in as we do the project. So they don't send us a check and we get it and deposit it. We submit invoices to them and they reimburse us our 50% up to that $100,000. The $125,000 from Newtown and the $125,000 from Willistown are residing in the township's accounts because we're the ones that are going to be paying the bills as the project starts. So those funds weren't deposited anywhere. They're still within, and George, correct me if I'm wrong, but they are still within the townships because we will be paying the bills when they come.
Okay, so it's not
The
as a,
treasury report shows that it is.
yeah,
I think the treasurer's report, if I may, identifies it in the budget, in the 2022 budgets for the townships, but it does not show as an expense because those funds haven't been expended yet.
I guess the question is, if you would say that, to the townships, have, 250,000 here in their, profit and loss or their balance sheet, or is that an asset of Rich?
No, they are the township funds. Yeah, so those funds, they're dedicated to the bridge, but they're township funds. They haven't been moved over into a bridge account. Am I speaking correctly on behalf of Willistown?
That's right. They're capital expenditures, like the capital fund, capital reserves coming out of the capital.
Yeah.
So they're just parts.
Yeah. Only other thing that I would like to remind Ed is, when we leave here, return the meeting, we ought to, set up the 3 dates. Not 3 dates, the 6 dates, I think, it was recommended that we have 6 meetings next year, 2023, when we can follow the construction. And so I think, Ed, you should just put that on the
agenda.
oh, okay, sorry.
The old business.
All right, sorry. Okay, so that's what we're gonna do is discuss it later, I guess. All right. Yes.
You consider improving the minutes?
I make a motion that we accept the minutes. I second it.
All righty. So moving on, treasurer's report. We're just talking about. At 461, the legal. Are we all done with, so we know that I'm gonna say legal, that's Helen Mountain, right? Okay, are we caught up with her? Is that it? Is that it for us with her? Okay. The electrician's bill's on there, the electrical work we got done.
I'd like to make a comment on the treasurer's report, which is looking at the expenses. The miscellaneous with the electrician and the legal are basically one-time expenses. And our ongoing expenses is the burglar fire alarm and the electricity for roughly $630 a month. And there's a balance of $3,700 in the account at this point. And as I remember, 2 meetings ago, the townships have declined to reimburse or put any money into the budget. So we have to be very careful how we spend the money. Because we've only got 3 or 4 months left of expenses in the account without any income. So I just wanted to make that apparent to everyone.
I get a motion to approve. Anyone else in the treasurer's report? Second.
I second the report. All in favor?
All in favor, say aye.
Yeah. Aye.
Okay, chairman's report. A couple things. We had a tree removal. Thanks, George. Big tree came down in the storm in Willistown. I guess you guys got an independent contractor to come in? Yeah. It's a pretty big tree.
Yeah, it was a big tree. They cut it out and they parted the trunk up and then left some of the rest on the end.
Glad it went that way. Okay, so we had an art show down at the bridge. We got people. It wasn't crazy, but it was, I guess, the first time that there was art on the bridge. I was there for it that day. So I've noticed something over the summer. We've been keeping the bridge open, Kathy and Larry. Several times we've had it open, more than several times. And it's really nice to see people come down and say, hey, it's great that I drive by here a million times and I finally got to stop on the bridge. So we had a lot of that. I only had one little concern, and that was that west side entrance, when you're coming in, will drop off. Some of the older people just had a little tough time getting out, but so maybe that's something I guess we'll be looking at when we're doing grading or figuring out how we're going to handle that side.
That the western entrance is a highway problem. And as you said, once we get the bridge project going, maybe that can be looked at, but it's one of those deals where it's a very, very dangerous place to try and enter and exit. And let alone the grade and things.
You know what? I wanted to comment on something you had mentioned. Remember, we were talking about sandbags, how many bags are there? I noticed that somebody took one of the sandbags, took the rocks out of it. Like they got stuck down there. They made a little path of them, like put under their tire or something. Just something I noticed. And whether that was the case or not, I don't know. But you were right when you said there was only X amount of bags. And I'm like, nah, there was one more. So you were right. I wanted to let you know you were right about that.
I'm not really concerned about the sandbags as much as the access to Goshen Road in and out, because on the west side, trying to get on Goshen Road, it's blind coming from the west to the east.
Yeah.
And it's a very, very dangerous place where the parking on Brute Road is more than acceptable for safety purposes. And it's something that as we develop the repairs to the bridge, we need to think about is that west side access. And if you try to get from the east side to the west side walking, if the bridge gates aren't open, it's again super dangerous trying to walk across the concrete bridge. And the total package would be when everything's finished is we get the west side almost parked like the way the east side is. So both sides of the bridge are beautiful. And that's just, it's things we need to consider.
But the visibility of ingress and egress from Goshen Road on that side will remain though.
Oh yeah, the east side's fine.
The east side is fine, but the west side, I don't see how we can resolve that issue.
Yeah,
Because it's the problem is vegetation in the way the road is cut. And it's-
and the grading.
yeah, it's something to discuss with PennDOT, the state road.
Now, originally, we did have PennDOT down there and we
Yeah.
talked about, they did throw some ideas at us, what we could do. So yeah, something we definitely have to look at. But overall, I had a great experience with these guys over the summer, opening the bridge, and lots of people that have lived here we're just excited to be on the bridge. And so that was all good stuff. And I guess that's about it. Maybe I should include this. We did sell a couple more books and I do have some money we can add to our funds. We sold 2 more books. So I have like $80 in books. And that was a question from last time. Books that were sold, I was selling their books too. So, but I dealt with you guys as we were doing it. But over the summer, we sold 4 books, $80. And then we also got $40 in donations over the summer. So a little bit of money. And that's just from Kathy had set a table up. They brought cookies and some things that were sold, little things like a license plates to help us out. That was awesome, Okay, that's about it for my chairman's
Well,
report.
A question on the monies that were collected. Where do those receipts go? Do they go to Friends of the Bartram Bridge?
So what I did was I have 2 different things. I have $80 that was the books that were from the commission, I believe, right? So I separated it, and the $40 was donation. So I don't know. That's what we have to decide. Do the donations go to Friends? Does the 80 go to commission? Eric, do you know? I don't know how those books arrived. They were through the commission, weren't they?
Yeah, he says yes.
So it's 2 different things. One goes to commission, one goes to Friends. Okay. Okay, moving on. New business. I want to introduce you guys to Kathy Cavalier, President of the Historical Society, Larry Fisher. These guys are superstars and they have a proposition for us they'd like to talk to us about. Sure.
Alright. So I do know most of you. My name is Kathy Cavalier. I'm the current president of the Historical Society. Larry Fisher is our treasurer. So I'm here to propose integrating the Bartram Bridge into the Newtown Square Historical Society. Basically, the way that we do the Paper Mill House and the Square Tavern. Square Tavern is owned by BPG, but we operate the tavern as an art center, as a tour, historic center. We do educational programs there. And Paper Mill is owned by the township, and we do the same there, and we run events. We have access whenever, independently. At the tavern similarly, and I have an agreement and a lease that I sign. We don't pay any money, but it gives us access whenever we want to use that. I began over the summer integrating actually the bridge into all of our tours so that we would run summer tours and it would be the bridge, the tavern, and the Paper Mill House. So I'm trying to work on the octagonal school as well, because I'm trying to get, and I call it the historic district, because if you say it enough, it becomes that. So when I give those tours, they have been the most popular thing we've done. People several times, I think the last time we had all 4 or 3 of the sites on the tours, people were just astounded that Newtown had this history. I advertise pretty far, Westchester, and I go out to Phoenixville, Tredyffrin, obviously. And we get people from all over the county, Delaware as well, that just did not know of Newtown's history and the bridge and that everything is there. And a lot of Newtown residents don't know either. It's amazing how many do not know that the bridge is accessible or down the road from where they live on the other end of Newtown Square. So we've been working to educate people to that and opening the bridge as much as possible. In integrating the bridge, I'm going to have Larry speak to the fundraising part of that and how that would impact you as, and then we're just going to take your questions because I think that you might have questions, and rather than me just tell you what we do. So Larry can do that.
Larry Fisher. Our thought in talking to Ed is we operate facilities that we don't own. The Newtown Square Historical Society operates the township-owned paper mill house and the Equus BPG's owned Square Tavern. We're a 501(c), and we don't maintain these facilities. We share some of the costs. That the paper mill house is a little different because we have within the paper mill house artifacts that we own. So we have a kind of a share responsibility. But what we're proposing is right now, if we want to advertise that the bridge is open, we have to go to the Bartram Bridge Commission, you folks, Ed, to open the gate because it's yours and you have that authority. What we're proposing is you recommend to the townships, which I think that's the correct procedure, that we be allowed to operate the bridge. So we could open it. We have liability insurance. We would include the bridge in our policy. We would not maintain the bridge. We would not alter the bridge in any way. But being the 501(c), we could fundraise. In talking to Ed, I know you're with your friends, the bridge, you're trying to reformulate your 501 so you can fundraise. It's a duplicative effort. You have a separate board, if we have director's insurance because there's a liability. We see that there's a potential duplication in efforts when the purpose of both is to allow access to the bridge, tell the story of the bridge, maybe fundraise for the bridge to raise money that would be spent in coordination and with the approval of the Bridge Commission. So all we want to do is basically be the ones where this Saturday tell people the bridge is open. And the only time it would be open is if it can be staffed. So we'd like to get more of your residents, the Willistown residents, but if we can get a volunteer to staff the bridge, we would staff it. Would not be open unless it was staffed. So again, we're not trying to take anything from anybody. We're trying to give this bridge. I was there with Ed, and I'll be honest, I've been in the township for 35 years. I think that was the first time I was on the bridge. I'm embarrassed to say that. And we put a banner up. It just said open Saturday. People stopped because they saw the banner. They said, boy, first time I've ever been on it. And we'd like to be able to do that more often. We're not saying, we're not committing to a schedule, but we've been able to open the tavern and the mill house almost every Saturday. And we'd love to be able to open the bridge in the same manner. So that's what we are asking you to consider, and if you approve, make a recommendation to the respective townships to allow us to be your operator.
Can I interject real quick?
Sure.
So I went to the Historical Society's meeting last month and we were talking. And so over the summer, what we learned was, I'm opening the bridge for Kathy. They're very aggressive. These people really want people on that bridge. They want it open. Love it. Love the attention the bridge is getting. But we started talking more, and I know this is more of a friends issue, but I just wanted to say it while they're doing the presentation, that we talked about, our friends, our 501(c) struggles a bit in the reopening phase, trying to get it back together. And Larry and I, we had this odd moment, the three of us, where I saw this opportunity. They have a nonprofit. We have the ability to fundraise through the Historical Society, essentially saying, can we put our nonprofit in their Historical Society? 120 members, active social media.
Ed had been saying he was hiring somebody to create a website. We have a website. We just integrate you into it. And with the fundraising, my vision is we have silos. If somebody gives money for the bridge, we put it in a separate account. We have several accounts. We have a scholarship fund. That's protected money. It's only spent. If somebody gives a general donation, that's fine. Just the exact discussion you had this afternoon, right? If somebody said, here's $500 for the bridge, it would go into a separate account that would only be used, a totally separate checking account. And, we've asked Ed to join our board, and we'd love to have, more people from the bridge, be on our board. Or, our goal is to have people have access to the bridge. That's what our proposal is.
And you have the big donate button.
Yeah.
Last night I went and I donated.
Yes, you tried it. I saw that.
Did it went through?
Yep.
Did you get my money?
Yep.
So on it, in the comments section, I just wrote bridge.
Right.
So Joe Clank, the website designer, maybe a couple little tweaks or whatever we have to do to maybe tell our story about fundraising.
Mhm.
But here's what I'm thinking, like, we struggle with our nonprofit, and yet they have one in line. And we can use them to raise money for the bridge and not go through our struggle. I see the
Yeah.
energy you guys have, and I'm like,
I have a question which you partially answered. You said you have the silos.
Yes, that's what we
So
create.
that's because that was the first thing which came to mind. How do you label, identify whatever funds you? Now, you operate on more than one structure. Some are township owned, some are private. How you decide where to put your efforts? How do you decide where to put your efforts? Prioritizing
Where we put our efforts.
to prioritize which fundraising a campaign you want to dedicate more time or less time.
And I know that you struggle with that as well. Because I know during the summer that was an issue. And so I have been working to get more volunteers to be on the bridge. The bridge can only be open if there's a volunteer to man it. We did a couple self-guided, but we prefer to have it because we're going to do education. We created storyboards about the bridge that we can place inside the bridge when we're there, to tell the story about the history, because many people are very interested in that. So when we divide them right now between the Square Tavern, truthfully, we started out really with the Square Tavern. We got that going, created new programs and art center tours, and a lot is going on there all the time. We then started opening the paper mill house every week and doing the same thing. We already had programs there, but we didn't have enough volunteers to man those. So we've been getting more and more volunteers. So we've been able to open them both. And then I started going to Eddie about the bridge, and I found that to open the bridge and just have volunteers and put our energy into advertising is not really that hard. I do all the social media, and I basically have Facebook pages. We do for the Square Tavern, the Paper Mill. I know you have a Facebook page, Friends of the Bartram Bridge, right? I don't know if you have a separate just Bartram Bridge Facebook page, but I usually put in each one every event, update them. I advertise on the patch. So it goes to every place. If we can man them, we open them. Then we created the History Meets the Arts and included the bridge in that. And we call it Art on the Bridge. And so then bridge is a very popular place for people to paint plein air. And we have a lot of artists. So that is a big part of it. And it gets people to notice because people are painting. And we have a lot of pictures of the bridge. We did a photography contest, and that was very successful. Take a picture of the bridge, different seasons, things like that. Just brings awareness to it.
Kathy, if I can.
So-
Yeah, but I think, some weeks, if we're going to be open, Kathy will have a program that's main focus is at the tavern. But at the bottom of every thing says, the mill house is also open. It would say the bridge is also open. Last week, the main activity was at the mill house. So I would envision that over the course of the year, we would have some weeks when we're going to put the main focus at the bridge. But we find that when somebody goes to one site, we tend to direct them to the other site. So that's, well, why did you come to the mill house today? Oh, they sent me from the tavern. So if the bridge is open, oh yeah, why don't you right down the road? And I think that's what we found on that Saturday that you and I were there, that the advertising brings some of them. The banner brought a lot of them. And then we direct, but our programs are are not just at one facility, but if the main activity is at one facility, the other two are, we try to push people there also.
Another question I have, just for me to understand how this will be interfaced. Let's assume that you raise funds for the bridge. I'm sure that you retain some control of the funds you raise with your, under your guidance, when your fundraising. How you plan to interface the use of those funds with the?
We would have to come back if it involved
What
any,
if there is a discrepancy in opinion? Do you have a plan for any conflict resolution if that arises? Let's assume that the board wants to do a work that you, in your judgment, feels like some funds will be better used in a different way. What will happen in those cases?
we'd work it out. I don't envision us
Any type of work.
doing anything. We can't do anything physical to the bridge without you.
Let me try to clear up a couple things. The bridge is owned by 2 townships.
Right.
So the Friends of Bartram Bridge, the second Facebook page, the Newtown Historic Society's Facebook stuff, that is all completely separate from the bridge.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the bridge, the funds that we were talking about, the $250,000 and the $100,000 matching grant is township money and state money that's brought in to fix the bridge and bring it up to today's standards that we need. Anything that the volunteer organizations and fundraising would not plug into that process. It would be things, for example, planting daffodils for spring blooming, putting azaleas in, maybe a educational placard. That's
Exactly the relationship we have with the township.
Let me finish. So what we need to look at is, I like the idea of you guys opening the bridge and having access to it. But you need to put together a proposal and the insurance and run it past the township managers and both township lawyers to see if that's acceptable to them. Because without that, we can't go anywhere. George?
Yeah, so Bart, thank you. I would just say to the Joint Commission this. The Newtown Square Historical Society has presented 2 wonderful opportunities for the bridge. I look at it as one for the Joint Commission and the other for the Friends of the Bartram Bridge. It's really 2 separate opportunities, because one is saying they would like to help open the bridge and gain accessibility and gain notoriety and those kind of things. That's the township, that's the Joint Commission aspect of it. And then you've got the fundraising aspect of it and those benefits, which is a Friends question. I think what the Joint Commission should consider is the opening question. And does the Joint Commission recommend to the Board of Supervisors in Willistown and the Board of Supervisors in Newtown to accept that kind offer by the Newtown Square Historical Society to do that, and then let them take it back and decide what would be necessary from the liability and the paperwork, et cetera. And then on the other side, when this meeting finishes and the joint and the Friends meeting takes place, then you have the discussion about the finances.
And George, you took the words out of my mouth. I like the idea. I think we should, as a board, vote on whether we support the volunteers having access to open it. But all that has to, if we approve it and support the concept, then you guys need to meet with, as I said, the township managers and the lawyers.
We were told that before we came
and
here.
have them approve it, because the way these insurances work, it could be for a one-time event. So it could be Saturday, November 30th or whatever the date is, and that one time, and then you have to submit another one for the next.
We have a policy that we will.
You have to let the lawyers tell you what they want. I'm not the lawyer. The lawyers are specific in what they want. And Steve Neese and Shauna Lodge, our 2 township managers, are wide open to stuff like this. And they want to see both townships support from it. But we got to go through a process. And you got to seek first to understand what they want, and then you can provide them with the answers they're looking for.
Fine.
So what,
We're ready. Okay.
what, so what I'm proposing now would be, would the board vote and support their efforts to open the bridge and have access to it for events.
Super. That's why we came here. That's what we're
I don't
looking for.
think we can vote on that. I think we can say that as a group, we support the idea, but we're not making a recommendation yet. I would
That's
like
fine.
to see the agreement you have with Newtown Township about the Square Tavern. They
No.
own, or the paper mill that they own that?
Yes,
Which one
yeah.
do they own? Township owns what?
The township owns the paper mill house.
Okay, that would be a great starting point because you've already dealt with the township about many of these same issues. And that could be a model for an agreement that Willistown and Newtown enter into with you to allow you to have access.
And we already talked to Steve Neese briefly.
Yeah.
With a blessing. You met.
Oh,
with him.
he's the one who said we should come before you acknowledging that you could make a recommendation, yes or no, knowing that the supervisors of each respective township have the approval authority. So if you want to make your recommendation, we will take it from there.
Okay. Why don't we pass a motion on this?
Well,
Oh,
are you prepared to recommend when there's no plan, no proposal? We haven't seen the insurance, we haven't seen a form of.
well, I think we
Contract or
can, we can make a recommendation, at the. And then they'll follow up with that paperwork. But as a board, do we think it's a good idea?
Yeah, we can.
I think the motion can be, do we support the concept of having the historical group have access to the key to open the bridge for events? And it's a non-binding thing is, do we think it's a decent idea? And then the future has to go with them running it through the townships.
Yes,
So ask for a vote if does that work? Ed?
yeah, that totally works. Does that work for you guys? So can I get a vote on allowing the historical society, what do we call it, day-to-day operations kind of a thing?
No, to pursue.
Yes,
Do we support the idea?
we support the idea of the historical society using the bridge. What's that?
Don't forget about. We should make sure that Willistown, we get some part ownership. Does is involved in the plan. So any of these tours or publicity. I also believe that the township here in Newtown has grown substantial. So there's probably, I don't know, about another 2,000 people here that seeing that bridge, either they're in Leicester or in the north. It's fertile ground for new visitors. So I'll keep that in mind.
Before we vote on this, I want to ask a question.
Yes.
What cooperation did we get in a similar manner in Willistown?
That's a good point. I think that this should be offered to Willistown, that you guys, Willistown has a commission, right? Historical commission.
Yes.
So I did, someone came to the bridge, someone showed up at the bridge, vice president, I think maybe it's the commission. Anyway, saw your sign and he stopped in and we started talking. Yeah, from Sugartown. You were there, right, Larry?
There is none. There is none. No, yeah, I'm the chairman of the Willistown Historic Commission. Okay. That's different. And our charge is not the bridge. The bridge would fall under, I would think, our Park and Recreation Department.
But I don't think that supporting the request would be prejudicial to, see if Willistown wants to come forward also, it will open the door. I mean, it
Or
will
the
be already
barrier.
structured and set up. That can be only beneficial in that regard.
But we don't
So-
want to make it seem like only Newtown can have access.
Yeah, but
That's,
they
that's,
are- they
I had that
are-
discussion with
But
the,
they are coming to ask. If the other side doesn't come to ask, we can only tell them that that's happening.
well, we surely mentioned it to him on the bridge that day. It would be great for these two towns to come together. You know, more energy, more power, just more everything good for the bridge. So
Can we pass a motion?
Can we pass a
Whatever,
motion
support,
or-
whatever to say. It's not a motion. Let's not be hung on the semantic of it. If we want to call the motion, I mean, do we support the request to have access to the bridge once they clear up everything with the township on both sides? That's basically what we're discussing.
Yes.
Right? I do.
get a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. After this, with the other meeting, I do have some other things to say with that, with the friends, but, you guys, thank you so much. You know, Kathy calls my phone all the time. She keeps me busy. She loves that bridge. She wants action. And I'm thankful because the bridge needs a job, the bridge needs attention, and this is your mission. It's our mission. It's good stuff. Okay, old business. Update information regarding the Bartram Bridge Structural Rehabilitation Project. Is that you, George?
Yeah, can I talk to that, please?
Absolutely.
Great. So at the last meeting of the Joint Commission back in July, the Joint Commission recommended to the two townships to utilize CMC Engineering, the firm that had done the structural report back in 2019, as the ones who would do the bid documents for the structural work. Newtown took it to our Board of Supervisors. Willistown took it to their Board of Supervisors. Both accepted that recommendation from the Joint Commission. George and I and the two township managers met with CMC and asked them to start getting their the framework of the documents ready. Once that framework is back, then we're going to be bringing in the two people that the Joint Commission recommended to also represent, which was Ed and Bart, to start reviewing them, and we'll finalize the package that's going to go out. I'll just mention their concept is that they're going to start with the topography survey, which is going to look at addressing the stormwater issues and the runoff issues and those kind of things. When that topography survey is complete, the two townships are going to look at it and say, okay, is that something to be bid out, or is that something that we can actually work on in-house? The next stage is going to be that they're going to finalize the recommendations on the stone piers. And again, I think we're going to look at what they come up with and see, okay, how far out does that need to go? Is that a bid project? Is that something that could be localized, et cetera? And then you've got the full structural project, which is really illustrated in the CMC report. That definitely goes out to bid. We'll be working on those bid documents. We'll bring, the two representatives in to bring the Joint Commission's expertise and thoughts and concerns with it. Again, structure is the key. And then we're going to be adding in the things that we would like to do. So we've got the repairs we definitely want to do. Then we've got the deck boards and the clapboards that are the next stage. We're gonna try to bid those out as well. And then we'll look at details like the kinds of wood and the kinds of other details that go along with it. So those are all going to be built into the specs as they go out. Hopefully, when you look at the funds that the townships have dedicated and the township and the grant funds, we'll be able to do everything. But if not, we'll be doing it structural, most important first, and working our way up.
George, I have a question on
Yeah.
the work. The bridge is a class 1 historical resource, right? Because it's on. So any repair is being done in conformity to maintain the designation. Because if the repair is done altering the structure of the bridge, you will lose that.
So, and so that, not only would we need to make sure that the historical commissions are comfortable with all the work being done. And again, this is structural work. And I think you saw back when you recommended the CMC report back in 2019, what it was they were recommending. I don't think there was anything that was in danger of that. But the fact that we got a grant, that's another level of making sure that it gets done right. So I think that those concerns are legitimate, but I think we're going to be making sure that it's done properly.
George, can I ask a quick question?
Mhm.
The September 26th supervisors meeting approved the restoration project with CMC for $39,300. Was
Yes.
that the total bill or just Willis Township?
No, that is the total bill. It is possible that amount could fluctuate depending on if they have to do more work.
I'm sure it was 50/50.
Yeah, no, that was the total. And again, that's part of the entire project. And Newtown agreed to the same proposal, so they were identical proposals.
Okay. Update information on Bartram Bridge facilities and grounds. We just cover that?
I don't think there was anything different or new on the grounds and facilities. I mean, last time, Willistown took care of the tree that was down. Newtown, we've been treating the 2 ash trees that are on the property there. I don't think there's any other major grounds work that we would need to report
The
on.
only grounds we discussed was the west side, the difficulty coming in and out, and the whatever is unsafe
Yeah.
there on the.
And that west side issue also concerns me quite a bit with the volunteers. Because the west side is where the biggest chance of an accident or somebody being hurt trying to get in and out of that with a car and getting in a collision, and you know how the lawsuits go downhill. So, that's part of the proposal, is that we don't look at the west side for opening events, that there's like no parking there. And put up stanchions.
Probably to put something up, because I do know several people did attempt to come in, but then they were scared to get out. I had to help a couple people. Yeah, unless there's something temporarily done on that little cliff there but either way, I think that we would have to steer them to our side just for the Newtown side.
And then down the road, if the events snowball and get really big, then we can go to the police departments to come and manage the traffic. So, and they do that for us all the time.
Another thing too, if fundraising does become a popular thing on the bridge. I'm thinking about like SAP or Ellis Center, bus to there, some kind of a shuttle. Arrangements could be made, is what I'm saying, and try to pack them all in on Boot Road or Goshen Road or. Oh, okay. Okay, and this, Eric, what you were alluding to, a discussion and possible action regarding the schedule for 2023 meetings. So as this job is coming closer to fruition, do we meet more often? Do we stay on top of everything? I don't
Say that depends on the update on the work being done. You might,
action starts.
yeah, if the action starts, because if you schedule things now, you might be out of synchronization with what the work's being done as discussion needs to be done. So
So
I'll open that a little bit more flexible, I'll leave flexible that way.
And you can also have meetings on an as-needed basis. I mean, it's only a matter of a week or two to call for a special meeting.
So basically, what, leave our schedule alone to further notice?
So at the last meeting, it was proposed, but because it wasn't on the agenda, the Joint Commission didn't vote on it. They just discussed it, if I remember right. It had been discussed about having 6 meetings a year as opposed to 4, having them every other month. One, because there's going to be work going on during the course of the next year. The engineer, CMC, believes that the project duration will probably be 2023. It ought to be able to be done by the end of 2023, presuming everything goes according to plan. Yes, you could always call special meetings if you could, but the other aspect of the discussion was that because you only meet quarterly, does it make it a little more difficult for you to get traction and try to get things done? And would you like to try next year officially scheduling 6 meetings as opposed to 4 meetings every other month so that they could be advertised and put on the calendar? You could always cancel it if you find that you don't need the meeting, but it would be good to have it on the calendar officially with the 2 townships approving it and just get it there and anticipate meeting 6 times instead of 4.
Well, I like that. If there's nothing to talk about, we can cancel, but I like the idea of doing it because it shows our commitment to moving forward, and now's the time.
And I think you're going to have things to talk about.
Are we? So can I get a motion on 6 meetings a year? Eric, was that?
He says so.
He said so moved. So you
Oh,
need a second.
need a second?
Yeah, I second it based on, we get the proper night and it becomes the same night every month. For example, I have meetings the second Tuesday every month,
Okay.
and then there's meetings the, second Wednesday of every month that I have. So we need to look at both townships' calendars and then pick a day for the, Joint Bridge Commission.
I'm
That
done.
works for both groups.
Yeah, absolutely.
It makes sense.
Do you have a second?
Yes, we have a second.
Give me a second. Yep.
All in favor?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Public comment. We have 2 visitors here tonight. Any comments? Nice.
You guys.
Get their names slapped.
That's why we're here.
Yeah, you know what? It's been going on for a while. We've been going through this and now it's really starting to blossom. We're starting to see action. We have a lot of, we had engineering reports done and vision and now everything's starting to come together and there's gonna be a lot of energy around it. So we hope to fill all those seats. And now would be the time to do it because the meetings prior to this, it was all inside talk, but now we're sort of got a good grip on things.
Open it up. I live on the river.
Oh, nice.
Have never been on it. That's it, stop there and look. Actually get on the river. What's been like, and I always just thought it was just. I swear, but.
So there's a sign that goes up that they made a sign open on Saturdays and we put it up on like a Thursday and like, wow, like, it was amazing because everyone that came there noticed the sign and that's why they stopped. So look for the sign. I'm sorry? Doing a lot of little things, electrical work, this, that, but the big stuff is now where we're at. We did have the roof done. We had the roof done like 4 or 5 years ago. So there was a. So we, you know what it is, sometimes some of the storms, we've had some issues with the siding and but I mean, you're right. I see, when you drive by the bridge at 40 miles an hour, it looks great, but when you get up close on it, the siding does have it. And so that was the reason for this collaboration, because I have this vision of raising extra money if we needed to accomplish all of it. So this bridge is 100% done. So there's a lot, but yeah, yes. And there's the money guy right there. He'll take your money. Yes. Yeah. That's what sort of happens now, but again, with the support of the Historical Society, I just see this thing, again, what I've heard all summer, everyone's so excited to see the bridge open, and so good stuff, good stuff. So I guess we're adjourning the meeting.
Right, so we'll adjourn the Bartram Bridge Joint Commission meeting. We'll
Yes.
stop the recording of